But what distinguished her was not only the role she played in Sounder, in the Diary of Jane Pittman and others, it was the roles she would not play. She had standards. She had a line she wouldn't cross. For many years, black actresses and actors had to play things that were degrading and in many ways negative. Cicely Tyson would turn down those roles even if she needed the money, because she said what she represented and what she wanted to project was more important than the need she may have had for that time of some kind of monetary relief. That's why people all over the world in every station of life stopped to honor this woman, because she stood for more than what was on the screen. She, for many years, didn't get the biggest awards. She got them later in her career. But her reward was that she stood for something. She never shamed her community. She never shamed her people. She never shamed her nation. And that is why she will be dearly missed, and she will be always remembered, because Cicely Tyson was a standard that others ought to try and emulate. It is not how high your star rises, it's what your star represents and who gets the brightness of that star to inspire them. That's why, even though I had known her since I was a teenage activist, every time I would see her, I would bow to her, because she was royalty to me. She was the queen. She represented the best standards that we can see in the entertainment world. That does it for me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern for another live hour.
New reporting taking us inside the Pentagon's decision to keep thousands of National Guard troops in the streets of Washington, D.C., as we get a new gut punch from the FBI, affirming the greatest threat facing the American people is already among us. As conspiracies and complacency consume the GOP, sitting members of Congress say they now fear one of their own, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who just gained praise from Donald Trump, as mainstream Republicans do nothing to keep her in check. A recent target of her attacks, Parkland shooting survivor David Hogg, is with us tonight. Welcome to American Voices. We begin tonight with the latest evidence the attack on Capitol Hill was largely fueled by a major political party that is sliding toward extremism. On the surface, Republican lawmakers are urging unity and argue Democrats are too focused on the past. But those are just talking points, a deflection from dealing with reality. Increasing facts reveal what happened January 6th was all but inevitable. The New York Times reports a number of prominent GOP lawmakers actually have ties to some of the groups responsible for the riot. Groups like the Proud Boys and the Three Percenters, whose members spout violent ideas and conspiracy theories, is forcing a reckoning on Capitol Hill, leading Speaker Pelosi to say this about the very chamber she leads.
I do believe, and I have said this all along, that we will probably need a supplemental for more security for members when the enemy is within the House of Representatives.
What exactly did you mean when you said that the enemy is within? What exactly did you mean?
It means that we have members of Congress who want to bring guns on the floor and have threatened violence on other members of Congress.
Some Democrats, including freshman Cori Bush of Missouri, say working on the Hill is uncomfortable, to say the least. They are now looking to physically distance themselves from conservative colleagues, especially ones who insist on packing heat at work. Fortress-style security remains outside our nation's capital tonight, and the Pentagon says National Guard troops will continue to protect D.C. through mid-March. This as another man was arrested at a police checkpoint near the Capitol with a gun, ammo, and Stop the Steal propaganda. Two members, the Proud Boys, have been charged with conspiracy, the first conspiracy charges related to the insurrection filed in connection with the far-right extremist group. We have new video tonight showing rioters armed and attacking police. This body cam video obtained by the New York Times shows rioters using crutches and hockey sticks as weapons. It's against this backdrop that the Senate inches closer to the second impeachment trial of Donald J. Trump. And while some, like Tim Kaine, float the option of censuring the former president, the new Senate Majority Leader say it's time to double down.
This was the most despicable act a president has ever done. Donald Trump is the worst president in history. And to sweep it under the rug, say never mind, I told Tim Kaine, censure, slap on the wrist, no. We want to go for a full trial.
It is a lot to get to. Joining me now to talk about the security threat inside and outside the GOP, Malcolm Nance of the Terror Asymmetrics Project. He is an MSNBC terrorism analyst and author of The Plot to Betray America. Malcolm, always good to see you. Lots of Republicans initially portrayed the Capitol attack on January 6th as like a rally that had gotten out of control. But the new report from the Washington Post shows the FBI is probing how much of that attack was pre-planned, was coordinated. Malcolm, what was your reaction as you read this report?
Well, first off, I have been monitoring a lot of this right-wing extremism in real time, coming from their websites, their Telegram chats, their Parler chats. It was very well coordinated. And now we can't make a distinction here. There was the rally itself, which brought in over 40,000 people, and the bulk of that rally pushed towards the Capitol. But within that group were organized bands of people who were there to storm the Capitol specifically and to take control of it. Within that, we suspect, and some of the conspiracy charges confirm, that there were people who were going in specifically to do violence within the Capitol. So as U.S. law enforcement saw it, they knew that there was an imminent threat. They tried to respond to the imminent threat. It was the national security apparatus of Donald Trump's White House and his administration that saw the Trump voters who were coming there to stop the steal were not a threat, and that allowed this terrible event to happen.
Malcolm, once you have reporting that says that this was all coordinated, details how that was coordinated, how does that change the approach of national security infrastructure?
Well, what it does is it gives us the ability to start doing predictive analyses of what the opponents would likely do in the future. And this is the most important part. We saw how they operated last time. The FBI is breaking down their networks and structures. Many of them were just loosely affiliated people, but then within them, we found truly organized structures. The 3% militia, the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys. The Proud Boys specifically got up to Capitol Hill early and actually organized their people into teams. We saw very sophisticated radio communications that were done on apps, that were also done on open voice VHF radios, which allowed them to actually coordinate their storming points. We need to know this because these people think that they are a new era of American revolutionary and that they're patriots and sons of liberty. What they're forming into as insurrectionists is the basis of a new insurgency in the United States that we haven't seen since before the Civil War.
Malcolm, how do all these findings factor into the level of charges that will be made against those who've been arrested?
Well, they're going to factor in greatly because, as I said, we're finding the elements of conspiracy now. This was not 40,000 individuals who came up to the Capitol and 1,000 individuals that just decided to storm in. Granted, there was a mob action. They went in, they stormed the Capitol. But again, we have organized groups who came to the Capitol specifically to attack the building, who came to the Capitol with organized members and elements. The Proud Boys claimed that they had up to 500 people there. And as I was monitoring that attack in real time, watching their own live video streams, it was very clear that what we called young military-aged men under the age of 35 were predominantly the first wave that were hitting that building, and then were backed up by the mass people power of the mob. These people had organizations. They came to attack that building, and God knows what else they planned. We're going to find out, though.
Malcolm, regarding the DHS bulletin, Benny Thompson, the chair of the House Homeland Security Committee, he said this in a statement: "I am glad to see that DHS fully recognizes the threat posed by violent right-wing extremists and is taking efforts to communicate that threat to the American people." At the same time, you have Republicans questioning the necessity of keeping the National Guard troops at the Capitol. I mean, it is just so sad to see that, to see the fence. Do you believe that level of security, though, is necessary?
You know, I made that recommendation very early on after the attack. You know, what's up there now is temporary fencing, semi-permanent transparent hoarding. I don't think that's what's going to be there. But the entirety of the Capitol Hill campus may have to turn into something like the Élysée Palace in Paris, right? A very beautiful armed compound with extremely high but beautiful gold-tipped fences. Who knows? The architect of the Capitol has been tasked out to make that determination. But would they have to have some ability to shut down the epicenter of American democracy in case not just of future mob action? That's the baseline of what should happen. A terrorist attack on a massive scale, because now we've revealed how you can just go in there and defeat some of the safeguards that we had in before. The National Guard will have to stay there as a symbol to those people who think that that building is vulnerable. And that includes the American citizens who went up there and performed insurrection.
And Malcolm, that also includes questions about members of Congress. New York Times reporting shows that there's a link between at least 5 members of Congress and the extremist groups that took part in the Capitol attacks. Former FBI agent Frank Figliuzzi said yesterday he believes the FBI likely has files on those politicians. I wonder if you agree, and how precedented. Can you give us a sense of just how precedented this situation is?
Well, you know, we've used the word unprecedented a lot. Since the beginning of the Trump administration. But we're talking about is members of Congress who may, in fact, either have tacitly, openly, or unwittingly communicated with insurrectionists, brought them in on reconnaissance, maybe had communications with them. You know, there's an allegation that one person was actually identifying the location of the Speaker of the House in real time. That is a national security emergency. That right there should be grounds for arrest and criminal indictment. I don't know. Let's leave this up to the FBI to carry out their probe. Let me tell you, they have a lot of resources. They can determine where everyone was, when text messages were sent, who was receiving these text messages. We know that they did an electronic security gate around the entire Capitol. Every cell phone that was inside that building that was active can be identified. So if it turns out there was a real insider threat, the full force of the law should come down on those people. Their position as Congress people or members of the Senate or whatever, and it may not be the members, it might be their staff members who are sympathetic or coordinating with these individuals. Full force of the law.
So Malcolm, beyond those apparatus, I mean, how do Republicans contend with what is an increased radicalization of their party?
And this is a sad thing. You know, I warned about this when I was on Bill Maher's show on November 6th. I said what we're seeing is an insurgency build through the Republican Party with the angriest, most fraught members of their base. They are terrified of them. But also that fear of their base allows these individual politicians to understand that this is where they always were. They were always in support of this, the anti-political correctness of getting into people's faces. What you're seeing here is the Republican Party is not just being co-opted, it is transforming into what arguably could be its true self. Donald Trump has not spoken much, which is allowing him to actually craft out the parameters of what Republican politicians can and cannot do. Matt Gaetz going up after Liz Cheney is a good example of where the party really is right now. I'm going to make a prediction right here that I'm writing a new book about. They are going to incorporate the worst components of their base. And if that means that they're going to be an angry, sectarian, backing Second Amendment rights group, we've already seen the parameters of that happening right now. This could devolve into an insurgency like Northern Ireland.
Malcolm Nance with predictions. We will continue to talk about all of this. Thank you so much. Next, President Biden's attempt to legislate through bipartisanship. But if the other side won't meet him in the middle, are Democrats willing to go it alone? And later, the reality of getting kids back to class. We know it's vital for their well-being. What's holding us back? Much more ahead tonight on American.
Inspired him to pursue a career in
found in Preservision.
If it were my vision, I'd ask my doctor.
50%. New York's health department later revising its official death toll from nearly 9,000 to more than 12,000. Joe Concha is a media opinion columnist for The Hill and Fox News contributor and used to talking to me at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Joe, this is proof I am, in fact, a normal human. Good to see you tonight.
Jillian, what are you doing up so late? Are you normally in bed by this time to get up at 2 a.m. for the Fox and Friends birds?
Sleepwalking right now, Joe. But you know, in all seriousness, because there are so many people who want answers, and it's been a long time that people have been fighting. Our Janice Dean, as you know, one of them. That clip that you heard from the governor there, that line specifically when he says, "Who cares? 33, 28 died in the hospital, died in a nursing home, they died." What is your reaction to that? Because a lot of people, that's not really sitting well with them.
It's the hubris of the defeated, Jillian. I mean, this is a governor who won an Emmy just a couple of months ago for his performance in March and April and May at those press conferences and presentations that he gave at the beginning of COVID. I was one of the people that praised him. But then it slowly began to come out that his order to put COVID-19 positive patients back into nursing homes, that was a petri dish of death. In terms of the spread, in terms of that decision, when he had the Javits Center, when he had the USS Comfort, as far as options, he went down that route instead. So you think there would be some contrition from the Emmy winner, but instead we got a Tony-winning performance as far as him blaming everybody but himself. This was amazing, this quote most of all. He blamed federal guidance on his health department undercounting of nursing home deaths. Quote, "If you think this was a mistake, then go talk to the federal government." And then in the same breath, and you need a chiropractor to figure this one out, it's not about pointing fingers or blame. This became a political football. He literally just blamed the federal government, the Trump administration, and then said, well, it's not about pointing fingers. Yeah, this isn't sitting well with anybody. And, you know, God bless Janice Dean for keeping a spotlight on this and his decisions. And now everything is coming home to roost because this was page one of the New York Times on Thursday. And this is from, as you mentioned, his Democratic New York Attorney General. He can't blame Trump anymore. This is coming from within New York. This investigation, this is on him. It's not going away, Jillian.
Yeah, it's.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt before this is all said and done with, give it as it may, towards it either being gross negligence or reckless endangerment, whatever status that you want to put it on, but there's no doubt that there's certain people that has been in control of all of this that has either purposely or ignorantly led people astray in various communities in the continental United States that has brought more death and harm to people than what was required. In other words, if these same people would have been on top of their game, regardless whether it was Donald Trump or Donald Trump's administration pertaining to his cabinet, or various people like they're looking at right now, Promo, they're in the governor, they're in New York, or the mayor there in New York. I don't know if it was the mayor or the governor, because both of them holds about the same power. But before this is over with, there'll be a long, lengthy investigations towards how that these same people that made various calls actually exacerbated the problem rather than helping the problem. And I realized this was something brand new off the cuff. This was something that we've never had to engage in or be active in. But at the same time, you got to realize that whenever you hire these people and give them big salaries and put them up on pedestals like there are show horses of some sort, we expect these people to protect us and take care of us, not only from foreign forces, but also from domestic forces. And whenever I say domestic forces, I'm just not talking about the problems at hand pertaining to the insurrection that happened January the 6th in the year 2021 up in the Capitol building, but I'm also talking about the coronavirus. There is so many loose ends here of people that haven't done their jobs that has helped to create the very monster that we're all facing right now, that is just, it is so horrifying. No wonder the suicide rate is going up instead of going down right now, because so many people sees this as an act of doomsday. They see it as the point of no return, and because of it, it ruins their momentum. It ruins their will to want to survive and to thrive and go a little further. It ruins their momentum. And once you tear down somebody's momentum, then you start working on their morale. Once you tear down their morale, now that human being is at the point of either becoming radicalized in wanting to lash out with violence, or they themselves commit a violent act upon to themselves towards checking out, towards committing suicide. Either or, it's not a good formula. Either or. It is a formula of disaster that is now looming over a great portion of the American people's heads right now, and the world in general, because things was not handled, beginning with the China scenario that occurred in the beginning of Honduras over there, beginning with them towards not effectively handling this situation the way that it should have been handled. We're in a sad state right now. I keep saying that, and I know it's words. Whenever someone says, oh yeah, it's a heartbreak, oh yeah, it's a sad state, oh yeah, have pity on us all. No. We have never, ever been in this much danger in a perilous state in America, even during 9/11 and Pearl Harbor being attacked at the same time. At the same time, we have now lost more people in this coronavirus than World War II. And if we keep on the way that it's going, we're going to lose more people than World War I and World War II combined. It's sad. And whenever I say it's sad, I really mean it's sad. It's sad that we was caught blindsided as individuals, even though there was people such as myself that kept waving the banner. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. A bloody road ahead. God saying that he's going to throw us off into a sick bed. It's coming. It's coming. Read the signs. Read the signs. Read the signs. Christ said that these would be all the grievous signs of despair that would fall upon the humanity. We did not listen to the horrors that the professionals was telling us about. And now it has led us down a very, very uncertain path.
Actually, truly unbelievable. Joe?
Global GDP in the next decade.
Is AI going to...
Republicans in Pennsylvania's state congressional delegation still voted to throw out Biden's electoral votes. And now, in Arizona, a Republican state representative has introduced a bill that would give legislators the ability to revoke the Secretary of State's certification of voting results anytime before inauguration. This after Arizona's Republican Party censured Cindy McCain, Jeff Flake, and Governor Doug Ducey last week, all of whom were critical of Trump. So with the GOP showing no signs of changing and in many states hemorrhaging voters as a result, we'll get to that in a bit, how do Democrats seize this moment? I'm going to ask Raquel Terran. She's the new chair of Arizona's Democratic Party. After this quick break.
Technology has transformed the way we consume content, especially books. We can have virtual libraries in our pockets through e-readers. The audiobooks market was valued at $2.6 billion in 2019 and is on the upward trajectory. Ghanaian tech entrepreneur Herman Chinnery Hesse wants to capitalize on this growth and also has a dream to bring African stories to the world.
Friends, Robert countrymen. They're invited here today because, as many of you know, I've been working on an audiobook project.
A listening party is gathered in the suburbs of Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown.
This wind of change blowing through Africa, as I have said before, is no ordinary wind. It is a raging hurricane against which the old order cannot stand.
We intend to launch these audiobooks in many African languages. We'll have a situation where now we can tell our own stories.
Tech entrepreneur Herman Chinnery Hesse is renowned for establishing the largest software company in Ghana, the Soft Tribe, and is now on a mission to keep Africa's oral tradition alive.
African Echoes came about.
And what they're talking about makes a lot of sense pertaining to the digital age that we're living in right now. I even spoke up against them building this $12 million library up here in Weakley County, here in Martin, Tennessee. And it's not because it makes the other buildings look bad, because it's dwarfed everything. But the fact of the matter is, whenever you go to spending that kind of money on a library in today's society, knowing that we basically have a dictionary and an encyclopedia and whatever else that's holding in our hands, that the majority of people, there's still a few out there that still got no phones, and there's still a few out there that still's got the flip phones, but the majority of people that's coming into the main view of society, all of them has smartphone technology. Whenever you take in consideration what you can do with this type of artificial intelligence that's basically right there at the palm of your hand, for somebody to spend $12 million on a library, to me, in today's society, is absolutely mind-boggling, especially whenever they got a pretty decent library right there beside the one that they're building. And I realize they're probably going to do more with this building up here, other than just having the content of it being a library, towards it being stuff full of a bunch of books. But the fact of the matter is, in today's society, people can learn in artificial mainstream media towards basically whatever that they want to learn now. In other words, there's no reason why that a person can't become self-taught, even if they didn't get a GED or diploma, even if they don't have degrees hanging on the wall. There's no reason why that person today can't be taught. My next step is to learn different languages. I would love to be able to learn Mexican, to be able to speak to my Mexican brothers and sisters in Christ. That way, whenever I'm preaching to a predominant crowd or speaking to a predominant crowd that's got as much Mexican as it does American, maybe I can speak a little Mexican, a little French or whatever. You know, that's my next project in life, eventually, towards learning a different language. And I see nothing wrong with that, because as long as you're moving forward and progressing, studying, learning, achieving, you're doing good. You're doing that in which what you was designed to do. You know, we wasn't designed to remain babies the rest of our lives. We have to reach maturity, and we have to go on to other levels of maturity that all has a certain aspect of how we drive ourselves from one day to another in our own personal performances. Maybe the $12 million building will be a great success for the people in Martin, Tennessee. I don't know. As of right now, I think they're bogged down with a lot of construction issues. And hopefully, I hope that they'll be able to turn that all around, and hopefully it will be a major asset to the Weakley County citizen society here in this county of about 34,000 people that everybody can enjoy. But as of right now, if they treat it like they did the UTM establishment, I'm not allowed to walk, talk, or be around any of the UTM property. Can't even go to a rodeo or a barbecue. Anything that's associated with the University of the State of Tennessee, I'm not supposed to be on there because at one time they charged me for me being suspicious. Suspicious of what? Suspicious because I was passing out DVDs after I had the radio announcer make me up 100 DVDs, and on the way out the door, I think I passed out 2 or 3 DVDs on the way towards getting into my automobile. So they're going to ban me from any resources pertaining to the UTM library and other UTM assets that I know good and well that some of my tax-paying dollars is paid for whenever I go up there shopping in Martin, Tennessee. Not counting the money that I spend here in Weakley County, Tennessee.
Because I myself am a slow reader. In today's world, the oral tradition can be translated into electronic audio. So suddenly we have Africa's oral tradition on steroids, which is really what we're trying to achieve here.
African Echoes is an audiobook app due to launch in March this year that will feature African classics and unpublished works transcribed and translated into multiple African languages by the production team.
African Echoes is a project to allow people who have stories from all walks of life across Africa to tell their story, aka we will scribe the story, something they might not be able to do themselves, and we will package it, translate into many African languages, and launch it on our African Echoes app where people can pay for and download these stories.
You know, I got a publisher right now that contacts me just about every 60 to 90 days wanting to know what I have gotten accomplished in my autobiography. I know that she knows that there's money to be made off of my story. But rather than me go to somebody like that right now, I'd rather put my story out in bits and pieces. Freely ye have received, freely ye shall give, hoping that one day there will be a group of people that will take appreciation towards the work that I've been involved in and the interpretation of the work that I've been involved in. And hopefully I will be rewarded for my works pertaining to what I've done for the heavenly kingdom. And if not, that to me, it pretty well speaks volumes about the type of people that I've been putting out my work to for free, that are basically nothing but a bunch of thieves and thugs towards thinking that I owe them something. I don't owe them nothing. I don't owe nobody nothing. The only person that I owe anything to is my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And whenever I come committed to him because of what he has done for me, then I am indebted to him towards doing what he has done for me by putting out my story to the will of the people. Now, if the will of the people continue to stonewall me and continue to want to steal the information from me that I'm putting out there by not showing any type of appreciation towards it, as far as on an honor system, well, then there's nothing that I can do about that. You know, once more, it kind of speaks volumes about the churches, the surrounding churches, and the neighborhood around here. It speaks volumes about the type of people that I've been ushering out my material and my work to, because as of so far, no one's knocked on my door. No one's called me up and said, Dennis, we want to support you. We want to get in behind you. We realize that you've dedicated over half your life in the Windmill Ministries. You've lost over $500,000 in this. You've spent over $500,000 in this. You've went through turbulent turmoils pertaining to being represented and misinterpreted by various people throughout various states, and we want to help to build that in which what you feel like that the Heavenly Father has called you to build or help to orchestrate. I have yet to see that type of a movement. And believe it or not, I may not. Because once more, it speaks volumes about the society or the generation of people that I've been dwelling with here in America that has stonewalled this ministry the way that they have in the past 30 some odd years, since 1989, since I've stepped out into the eyes of the general public. I want to end it right here pertaining to this. I wanted to end it on a good phase, not just all bad news, bad news, bad news. And the actor, I forgot her name now, forgive me, but she was a very, very inspiring actor that started out in a young career that at that time, black people was looked down upon, and black people was far and few between as far as those that inserted their lives into the entertainment industry. And she made a success out of her life, and also kept good standards within her life. A lot of good things is going on in today's society, along with the bad. And hopefully the viewers that do happen to listen or watch some of my programs, they'll understand that it's a tight line walk, a balancing act in being able to tell part of the bad, part of the good, not be biased towards one or the other, but at the same time be truthful and honest with your viewers, but at the same time don't drive it down into a hole of doom and gloom. We want to thank my viewers, allowing for us to be part of your lives by being part of the Windmill Ministries here at 291 Thompson Road, Sharon, Tennessee, zip code 38255. And may God bless America, and may God bless our endeavors towards going forward in our successes, towards our personal achievements for the kingdom of God through the blood of the Lord Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Thank you. Good luck to all of us. And once more, we want to say shalom.